Hello everyone, it's me, Deadhead, and today I thought I'd show you all a list of my favorite carnies other than myself. Because face it, every ringmaster loves themselves the most, right? No, actually I don't. Anyway, they're in no particular order, but here are my 13 favorite carnies of all time. I hope you enjoy. Alright, to get things started, we have Schlitzie the Pinhead. Now, Schlitzie was actually a male pinhead, which is something a lot of people don't know, because he was marketed as a female to make his appearance seem even stranger. But he was born sometime in the late 1800s, I believe. Literally the turn of the century, super late 1800s, super early 1900s. Anyway, he when he was a few years old, after his signs of being a pinhead started to show up, he was sold to Barnum and Bailey Circus, actually, where they marketed him as a girl to make his appearance look even more shocking, and he was given the name Schlitzie. Next up, how could I have a list about carnies without the original, I can't think today. A list of carnies without the original Siamese twins, Chang and Ang. Now, Chang and Ang were discovered by a British person exploring the river canals in India, and because he saw them swimming together, and at first he thought they were some sort of sea monster. Then he realized they were just conjoined twins. Anyway, he bought them from their mother, where he actually adopted them. Now, this made them classified as white, so even though they were Asian, when the time where they lived, they were able to buy homes, vote, and do anything a white person could do. Now, they lived long and happy lives, being very rich, and they even had, I think they had 20 children between the two of them, and they both were married. Now, unfortunately, the way they died was, I believe it was Chang who woke up and saw Ang dead beside him, and died of fright in a heart attack. There we go. Next up, these aren't all circus freaks, by the way. It's just that, I want to get them shown first. Next, we have the human skeleton. Now, I don't really know much about this guy, actually, unlike the other ones. All I know is that he was a man with severe muscle atrophy that made him appear to be a skeleton. And we all know how much I like spooky, scary skeletons. And he was also from Barnum and Bailey. Next up, this one is interesting. Good time for me to mention, not all these characters are real. A lot of them, some are real, and some are from fiction. But Edward Mordrake here is interesting because he's kind of both. This is obviously the picture of him from American Horror Story Freak Show. But Edward Mordrake did actually exist at one point. Or lived, rather, I should say. He was a man born with a separate face on the back of his head. Probably should have got a picture with that. So, just the front. But, I couldn't find a good one. Anyway, the head would whisper to him, and he was the only one that he could hear it. And it eventually drove him crazy, so he was locked in a loony bin where he escaped by murdering one of the guards. Then he joined, I believe it was also Barnum and Bailey, I don't know. It wasn't, I don't think it was, but he joined a circus as the Two-Faced Prince. But one day, he couldn't take being called a freak anymore, so he murdered every other freak in the circus troupe before hanging himself. Next up, also from American Horror, also kind of a twofer, it is Jimmy Darling, but also, what was the name of the real lobster boy? I can't remember. It'll come back to me later, but I'll start with Jimmy Darling first. Jimmy Darling is... Actually, I don't really like the real lobster boy, so let's only do Jimmy Darling. So, Jimmy Darling was the... Hold on, just a second. There we go. Sorry, I just realized I didn't have any music on this whole time. Anyway, so Jimmy Darling is also known as Lobster Boy, is a guy who was born with a lot of his fingers being fused together, which made his hands appear like lobster claws. He was born to his parents were Ethel, who was a bearded lady, and Dale, who was it Dale? I don't remember. I can't remember his name, but it was a strong man. And shortly after he was born, his father started showing him off as a freak, and before his father left his mother, leaving her and Jimmy to both join the Jupiter Freak Show, where Jimmy grew up, and that's where the series takes place, but I'm not going to spoil anything for you if you haven't seen it yet. Next up, Laughing Jill. Now, Laughing Jill is the female counterpart of Laughing Jack, even though they have no real relation other than their names and appearances being similar. Laughing Jill was a guardian angel created for a little girl. Now, this was actually a rich girl, but her parents didn't give a fuck about her, and no one else really seemed to, so she didn't have any friends. Laughing Jill, originally rainbow-colored, was sent down to be this girl's imaginary friend, but when the girl got sent off to boarding school, Jill, saddened, lost all of her color. When the girl got back, her father was a man who invented the chainsaw, by the way, but when the girl got back and Jill tried to reunite with her, the girl had forgotten all about Jill. So Jill grabs the chainsaw and kills everybody. Next up, Twisty the Clown, also from American Horror Story Freak Show. Now, Twisty was originally a very kind, cute, and, unscary clown. He was actually the children's clown in a traveling circus, where he sadly, he has some mental issues, like he's a bit slow, and some of the freaks in that show, and some of the freaks in that circus, rather, told everyone that Twisty was touching the children that he loved to play with. Now, he wasn't really, he just, is a kid himself, really. But after this, he tried to sell toys, but no one wanted to buy from him because everyone thought he was a pedophile. So he tried to kill himself by blowing his brains out, but the gun backfired and it just blew his cheeks and jaw apart. So now he wears that smile mask so that you can't see the gory mess beneath. Next up, Humpty the Clown. Now, this is a character that I actually haven't been able to find his story in the creepypasta stuff. I just like the way he looks. That'll be the end of that. Next up, the Jokester. Not the Joker, but the Jokester. Now, the Jokester is from Earth 3, meaning an alternate reality in DC Comics, where the heroes and villains traded places. And the Jokester is the heroic good guy version of the Joker. He obviously has the color scheme switched, and his story is that he was a comedian who was failing, so he started making jokes about Owlman, which is Earth 3's evil Batman. Eventually, however, Owlman caught him. Well, he did become very popular and very rich because people loved his routine on Owlman. So Owlman found him, cut a smile into his face, and then killed his fiancée. Jackie, that was his name, went completely insane before. In some versions, he bleaches his skin. Other versions, he just wears makeup. But he donned a clown outfit, renamed himself the Jokester, and now he dedicates his life to completely humiliating Owlman, and it is beautiful. Next up, the Joker. The Joker, we all know. We all love him. He's the Joker. There's not much that needs to be said about him. I just frickin' love the Joker. Laughing Jack is up next. Now, Laughing Jack is my favorite creepypasta character. He was an imaginary friend. He used to be a rainbow, and he was an imaginary friend for a poor boy named Isaac in Victorian England. Now, him and Isaac's souls were linked, and one day, after Laughing Jack accidentally kills a cat while they're playing, Isaac's mother sends him away to a military school, and Jack has to wait inside of his Jack-in-the-Box for Isaac to get back. He turns black and white after waiting for so long, and he loses all hope. Isaac gets back. Isaac turns into a serial killer, which in turn turns Laughing Jack into a sadistic fuck. until eventually the day comes that Laughing Jack escapes from his Jack-in-the-Box and goes on a murderous rampage that has yet to be stopped to this day. Next is Bozo. Bozo always laughs, never frowns. I love Bozo the Clown so much. Pretty much any carny does. Bozo is the perfect incarnation of what a carny should be. He's colorful, he makes people happy, he's super entertaining, and he has a really good voice considering what he is, which is a clown, and his voice is perfect for that. If you don't know who Bozo is, he started off as an actual clown in a circus who would sing, and he got his own record label back in the 60s. Then they gave him a TV show, and that's where this guy comes from. Alright, lastly on the list, we have Captain Spaulding. Now, Captain Spaulding is from the Rob Zombie movie universe, and he is a man who owns sort of a roadside freak show slash murder ride slash restaurant. He's a bit of a jack of all trades, if you see what I did there. He is amazing. I love him. He has a foul mouth. He has an awesome laugh. He's the rudest yet funniest man that has ever existed. And he wants you to buy some of his fried chicken, because in his words, come buy some of my pounded fried chicken. It just tastes so damn good. Well, those are my favorite carnies. I hope you liked this video. Bye-bye and sweet screams.